hikes. Congressman Lankford, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks. Glad to be with you.
First, I want to ask you this. Earlier today, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, in a press conference along with Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner, said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but sort of said that the budget situations, Republicans are being held up by a small group of ideologues within the Republican caucus. Is that true? What do you make of those comments?
I don't think it's a small group. I think it's a fairly large group of ideologues that's out there, and we have this crazy idea. We believe you should not borrow money if you don't have a plan to pay it back. And I know that may sound ridiculous, but we have this thought of we should solve the debt problem rather than go from $14 trillion in debt to $17 trillion in debt and think that you solve the problem.
President Obama is, basically, as we all heard, Representative Cantor saying last night, the president storming out of debt talks at that point. Where do things go from here? I mean, obviously things are really fluid, but what should voters be expecting next to happen? Yeah,
they'll continue to hear. It's the old biblical sense of wars and rumors of wars. There'll be more rumor than there will be reality for a while. I think there'll be a lot of push right to the end to try to get something real that's resolved. And I think at the end of the day, if we can't get something really real, then we try to do a short-term extension and keep working towards we get something that really provides solutions. I'm a big fan of the balanced budget amendment. I think if you want to be able to solve the budget issue long-term, you get a balanced budget amendment, and that forces us to be able to solve it long-term. You think about 1995 and 6, when we had the last time we voted on the last balanced budget amendment, it failed by one vote in the Senate. It was very bipartisan in the House, goes to the Senate, loses by one vote. If we would have had that and we'd have been in balance by 2006, think how different the financial situation would have been in 2008, just from that one simple thing.
And just a reminder to North Dakota listeners, our Senator Kent Conrad was the deciding vote on that. As a matter of fact, I mean, the one vote that was needed was Conrad. He went right down to the last minute, didn't give his vote, and that's the reason we don't have a balanced budget amendment today. But I mean, what sort of things would be acceptable at this point? I mean, is it fair to describe that President Obama is holding out for tax hikes? I mean, that's what he has on the table. Doesn't want to give up the tax hikes. Republicans, of course, don't want tax hikes. Is that the crux of the problem right now?
That really seems to be the crux of the problem. The president and the Democrats last year raised taxes $1 trillion starting in a year and a half for Obamacare. So they did $1 trillion tax increase last year. They want another $1 trillion increase on top of that, or they're not going to budge. And they keep saying, we've got to be able to have this balanced approach. And so the way they explain balanced is we cut a little bit and tax a lot. And I'm just completely fascinated with that. This is no different than what it was back in the Bush 41 when we were going to do the whole tax agreement where we're going to cut spending and raise taxes a little bit. Well, what happened is they raised taxes and never cut spending. When you talk about cutting spending, those are always in future years, but taxes begin right away. And so it's just a fool's bargain. And we're not interested in taking a fool's bargain. If the president drives us into debt in the way that he has, with the stimulus plan with $1 trillion, with adding $1 trillion in new taxes for Obamacare, with all the massive spending increases we've done at 25% over the last 2 years, and then get down to yesterday and say, you guys are being unreasonable because you don't want to tax more so I can spend more, that's not rational. That's not actually cutting the debt. That's taxing more, and so you can do more of these investments back into our economy, which just means spending. We're not going for that.
Let me ask you this question. There seems to be a narrative developing on the left, again, Senator Harry Reid saying that Representative Cantor hasn't been very helpful and that he shouldn't be involved in ongoing budget negotiations. From that narrative developing that there's a rift in House Republican leadership specifically between Speaker Boehner and Majority Leader Cantor. Is that true? I mean, is
absolutely
there any truth to that?
Not true. I mean, it's funny. I see them together all the time. We're in meetings together all the time. They're lined up. Why you see Cantor talking so much right now is because Cantor's been the one that's been in all the meetings with Biden. And so the president's now trying to form a new sort of coalition and say, okay, this wouldn't work with Cantor, with Biden, so I'll try to go to Boehner and try to form some deal. They find out it's the exact same thing, so brings Cantor back in, and Cantor's just saying, here's all the spending cuts that your vice president agreed to. So why are we trying to change the plan now? We either agreed to it or we didn't, and we said from the very beginning, this is a horrible time to raise taxes on the economy. This is not a great moment to go say, let's go get another $1 trillion. So, no, they're deadlocked together on this, and it's just the media line to say, gosh, it just appears. Because intrigue is a lot more interesting than unity.
It's almost like they're trying to drive a wedge in Republicans, right? I mean, you got these comments from Reed about, the small number of Republican ideologues that are causing the problem. You got them focusing on Cantor. Are they trying to split the caucus?
Sure they are. But it's the same thing that, honestly, the Republicans have done in the past as well, to be able to voice it and say there is this separation between Steny Hoyer and Nancy Pelosi. So
is it true the White
House? The reality
House
of the conversation. In the actual reality on the ground, they're deadlocked together.
Is it true that the White House has been backing off the amount of cuts they agreed to, lowering the amount every day?
They have been. They were about $2.5 trillion, and then now it's down to like $1.4 trillion or something was the last number that got leaked out. And they're slowly backing off more and more, saying we need more and more taxes through this to be able to balance it out. And
so in the context of that, where they seem to be sort of backing down, what do you make of the president's bluff comment then? What did he? I mean, when he says to Eric Cantor, "Don't call my bluff," what does he mean by that?
In the context of that, Cantor was saying that they're just going to, if we can't reach this larger deal, then let's just do smaller ones like we did during the continuing resolution. And we don't want to see the economy collapse either. We understand that we've got debts to be able to pay, and we want to be able to maintain things. We'll just do a smaller piece and send it. And the president does not want to do that because he wants to deal with this one time. And if you look at it, here's what the president wants. The $2.5 trillion number is very clear to see. That's enough to get us through the next election. He does not want to keep dealing with this and the debt and the spending increases that have happened. He wants to get this out of the way and get focused on the election. And so this $2.5 trillion is not some magical number. It's an arbitrary number that's based on getting us through the next election, not what we have to actually function with as a government.
All right. Representative Lankford, thank you so much for making time for us and coming on the program. I know you're a busy man. We'll let you get back to work.
You're welcome. Glad to do it. Thank you.
All right. That's Representative James Lankford. He's a member of the House Budget Committee, freshman star in the House Republican caucus, saying, listen, sounds like the president is backing down on this. He wants to get past this issue. He wants to focus on re-election. He can't focus on re-election until this is passed. Everybody's making it sound like Republicans are in a tough spot here. I think Obama's in a tough spot, and I think that's what we just heard from the congressman.